All right. Welcome to the sideboard. My name's Eric, and I've got something new for you here today. Now, no, a deck tech's not new, but Sultai God-Pharaoh's gift is new, and this deck just recently 5-0'd a competitive standard league, so it's starting to prove itself a little bit here, and it definitely looks fun for sure. So if you like this deck, give the video a thumbs up, and if you like the content, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We'll be happy to have you in the community. So let's get right into Sultai Gift. Now, yes, one of the first things you're going to see is this is an energy deck, but unlike most energy decks, we don't have a lot of payoffs for it. It's one of the main reasons we have the energy is really to make the land base work properly for us, and I'll explain that as we get into the two drops a little bit. But for now, let's just jump right into the land base here with the four Aether Hubs, 4 Blooming Marsh, 4 Botanical Sanctums, 3 Forest, a Hash-Up Oasis, a Hash-Up Oasis and a Ipnu Rivulet, and then an island and 2 swamps to round out the land base there. Now, we do have the one of Attune with Ether. Someone just subscribed, thank you. We do have the 4 Attune with Aethers, and those are making the rest of the land base here into 24 lands. You can kind of count your Attune with Aethers as honorary lands, and I think pretty much most people are used to that at this point. However, 20 lands is not something that a lot of people do see because most of the teamer decks and stuff run 21 or even 22 to just guarantee they're going to hit those lands in that opening hand. Sometimes you get stuck with an Attune and no way to cast it, but again, this deck has really been tuned as 16 out of your 20 lands can come in untapped on turn 1 to cast that Attune. So it's really minimized the chances that Attune cannot be cast on turn 1 unless you just pull, 2 or 3 Attunes and no other land. Now, the other one drops are Minister of Inquiries, which is also a utility card where it fills your graveyard, which is really, really common in the God-Pharaoh's Gift decks and the Gate to the Afterlife decks. Maybe even more so in the Gate to the Afterlife, as it is more dependent on getting certain number of cards in the graveyard that are a certain type. So sometimes you got to just really dump into your graveyard. And Gate to the Afterlife needs 6 creatures. So the deck is creature heavy. It runs 27 creatures, and we'll really talk about these two drops as they both have Explore. Now, he did go 4 on the Seeker Squire and 3 on the Merfolk Branchwalker, and I think that's because of the body. Early, and when these things haven't been brought back as a 4/4 yet, the early body seems to just be a little bit more important. However, Branchwalker is really good if it gets its Explore trigger against red deck, whereas Earthshaker Kenra and things like that can't make it not block. It can easily block, Bomat Courier if it gets its +1 counter from the trigger. So, I can see where he went with the 4 and 3 split on this, but this is another reason he wanted that low curve on the mana base. Having 4 of your lands actually be spells, or so that works really, really well with the Explorer mechanic, that you don't have as many lands, but that also stops you from drawing lands. So the Explorer mechanic here with these two drops actually works both ways, so it's just kind of win-win. And when I seen that, I just thought it just had to be mentioned that so much synergy goes into the fact that Explore will help you get lands when you don't have lands, but yet when you do have lands, the deck is thinner so that you have a better chance at not getting a land. So when you're winning, and when you're not winning, it has your chance of helping you win. So let's move on into the 3 drops here with Champion of Wits. Now, Champion of Wits is really good in those strategies where you just need to throw some stuff in the graveyard, especially when you're trying to throw some key things in the graveyard, because you get to pick like from your entire hand. You get to draw first, then discard those. So Champion of Wits, really, really good. Just automatic, 4 of here. That's just, a no-brainer there. And then 4 of Rogue Refiners, you're in the colors, you have some use for energy, might as well be able to get a good body and draw some card while you're getting a little bit of that extra resource that we all love so much. And then we've got Gate to the Afterlife. Now, because we're not in white like the Esper or the blue-white versions, we don't have access to Refurbish. Now, granted, we could cast Refurbish off of Attune, or Aether Hub, but we this deck is just going for the Gate to the Afterlife approach. Now that does mean you need to dump those 6 creatures into the graveyard, but one of the cool things about this deck is it can actually fight even if you don't have this online. So if your opponent spends too much time trying to deal with your Gate to the Afterlife or your God-Pharaoh's Gift, you may just actually beat them down with your creatures. And I really, really like that approach to this deck. So let's go ahead and take a look at the upper end of the curve here. Now we know about God-Pharaoh's Gift already. That is the backbone to this deck, is being able to bring back a hasty creature that's a 4/4 body no matter what it was beforehand. So God-Pharaoh's Gift, that's what we're really trying to get into play here. And we do have the Hostage Takers. That's another great card that when you can bring it back from a source that doesn't require mana like God-Pharaoh's Gift, then you take a blocker away from them, then you're able to swing in, and then second main phase you can then cast that blocker. It's just massive amounts of value, so definitely I can see the inclusion here. So let's look at that upper end of the curve here. These are the parts I really want to talk about here. We've got a couple Noxious Gearhulks, a 6 mana creature, and then we've got the Scarab God, an alternate way for us to start getting things back from the graveyard, and another must answer creature. So if they try to, somehow get rid of your God-Pharaoh's gifts, you can still keep your Reanimator theme online with the King of Reanimator right now, the Scarab God. And probably one of the coolest pieces of tech to come out of this deck, and that is Multiform Wonder. When you're bringing Multiform Wonder back on God-Pharaoh's Gift, he's a 4/4. Now, granted, that doesn't allow you to use his second ability twice, but bringing him back as a 4/4 is really, really good. Now, he is also an amazing blocker. I don't know if you guys know it or not, but you can pay 1 energy over and over and over again to give him -2/+2. So his body can become just as big as you have energy to pump into it, making him an amazing blocker. But his other ability to pay 1 energy and give him flying, vigilance, or lifelink makes him almost an Acroma altogether. Like, just all by himself, he can just be anything he wants to be. So in the way with the God-Pharaoh's Gift, this is our non-white version of Angel of Invention. And then Noxious Gearhulk, I do need to mention a little bit more than just it's a 6 mana creature. This is an artifact that Noxious Gearhulk can really catch you back up when you've been behind by removing their largest creature and you gaining life equal to that toughness. And then his menace is very, very threatening on a very big body. A lot of times this is going to be one of your best top decks. So like pulling a Noxious off the top is going to be so clutch and so many times for you if you play this deck. Now, let's take a look at the sideboard, as it's fairly simple. I do want to talk about the fact that there are 3 Kitesail freebooters and 3 Duress. He really, really wanted to go all in on a way to answer control. You even see the 2 copies of Negate to help answer control. And then against other God-Pharaoh's Gift or Graveyard Mechanic decks, or even Scarab God decks, he's got a couple copies of Deathgorge Scavenger, and then he's got 2 copies of River's Rebuke. And then finally, he fills the last few spots here with the 2 Viziers of Many Faces and a Yahenni's Expertise. Now, this gives him a lot of answers for a lot of the meta. Yahenni's being good against tokens and Whirler Virtuosos and things like that. Also, off of the Yahenni's Expertise, you can cast your Champion of Wits, Rogue Refiners, or even a Gate to the Afterlife. Not to mention any of the 2-drops or 1-drops that you can cast off of it. So Yahenni's really, really good in this deck. And then Vizier of Many Faces, a card that has just really been getting a lot of play, and I can see why it would be good here. Even if you're having to throw this into the graveyard, it's a great card to have there. It only costs 1 more mana to embalm it. Bringing it back, making it a copy of something can just be absolutely everything you need to get back into the game. Copying a Glorybringer, killing something on their side of the board that's not a Glorybringer or a non-dragon, it is that that is a very likely line of play that you could have. So this is Sultai God-Pharaoh's gift or Sultai gift. And I really wanted to showcase the deck today, and tomorrow we will be running a league of this. If you've been watching this long and you know I normally run Dev's decks, he recently put out a Grixis energy or Grixis mid-range deck, and we have already run that exact 75. So I will put a post up in the or an information box up in the top right hand corner for you guys. So if you want to see the gameplay of Grixis energy or Grixis mid-range, that will be there, and we'll be running this as a league tomorrow night. If you guys really want to see Dev's deck, let me know in the comment. We'll run some more content with the um, Grixis mid-range deck, because that's probably one of my favorite decks in standard right now. But that's all for now. I had a lot of fun. I hope you had fun. We'll see you next time here on the sideboard.